All right, so now we're moving into Galatians 5, beginning in verse 19, looking at verses 19 through 21. And this is where Paul lists the deeds of the flesh. So, he's just told us that if we will walk by the Spirit, then we will not carry out these deeds of the flesh. That because the deeds of the flesh and the Spirit, they're in opposition to one another, okay? So let's look at our list here. It says, now the deeds of the flesh are evident, they're clearly seen, okay? And they are immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, strife, jealousy, outbursts of anger, disputes, dissensions, factions, envying, drunkenness, carousing, and the things like these, of which I forewarn you. So Paul's like, I have never said these are okay, and I have told you that these are the things that Jesus came to deliver us from. Okay, these are the things that he came to set you free from. And those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. Okay, so that's the big warning there. That if these are the things that you practice, then you will not inherit the kingdom of God. So now let's break these down and let's see what the Greek definition is for each of these. I do not have the Greek words written down. Feel free to go to BibleHub.com and look those up. I did not write them all down because I cannot pronounce them, and all I would have been able to do is just spell them out for you. So, immorality means a selling off of sexual purity. A selling off of sexual purity. Let that sink. Fornication, promiscuity. Okay? What are you selling your sexual purity for? Or are you? Impurity, uncleanness, lustful, luxurious, profligate living. All right. I'm not sure. I'd have to look up profligate again, but impurity. All right. Sensuality, licentiousness, wantonness, lewdness, outrageous conduct. Okay. What is your conduct? How do you conduct yourself? Idolatry, image worship, simple. Sorcery, use of medicine, drugs, or spells. All right, use of medicine, drugs, or spells. Where's your hope at? Enmities, hatred, hostility, alienation. Do you have hatred for someone? Are you hostile towards an individual or a specific group or whatever? Do you alienate others? Do you alienate yourself? Strife, quarrel, a readiness to quarrel, and affection for dispute. I mean, do you love a good argument? I mean, do you look for them? Do you create them? Do you have an affection for arguing, for quarreling? Jealousy. Are you envious? This is a contentious rivalry. Do you, not a healthy, competition, but contentious rivalry. Outbursts of anger. This is like, getting heated up, breathing violently, a passion-driven behavior of rage. All right. Disputes, a rivalry, and focus on ambition, work done for hire. Let that sink in. Self-seeking, a carnal ambition. Do you only do what you do because you're getting paid to do it? Dissensions, standing apart, separating people into groundless factions. Okay, now this is one of the things that I kind of saw as I was looking at these deeds, is the things that we see in the church. Okay, not in the world. Let's look at, because Paul is writing this to the church. So let's remember that. He's not writing this to the world. He is writing this to the church. So as you look at this list, These deeds of the flesh, what do you see of them in the church? Okay? So dissensions, standing apart, separating people into groundless factions, wrongly separating. Factions, a self-chosen opinion. Dissensions arising from diversity. Okay? Envying, the miserable trait of being glad when someone experiences pain. An embittered mind, negative energy. Drunkenness, deep drinking. Okay, that one's carousing. Riotous partying that promotes sexual immorality. Okay? So Paul's like, these are all deeds of the flesh. Now, he is not saying that there's not possibly going to be times in your life to where you slip in to with your flesh leading you towards experiencing one of these things in this list. But what he's saying that if you practice these things, like this is like your everyday practice, like you enjoy these things, these are what you do. He says you will not inherit the kingdom of heaven if this is what you do. So just look at our American church. Look at your own self. Be willing to be examined by the Spirit of God. All right, because as I'm looking at this list, when I look at the things that we are struggling with in our nation today, within our churches, within the church, I see these factions, a self-chosen opinion. It is my opinion that a woman cannot teach. It is my opinion that your shirt is too tight. It is my opinion that your shorts are too short. It is my opinion that that the strap on that shirt needs to be this size. It is my opinion that you cannot wear makeup. It is my opinion that you must vote this way. It is my opinion. And so we're dividing all the people of God up because of people's opinions. And when you agree with me, you're in this group. And if you agree with them, then you're in that group. And if you agree with them, then you're over there. And you can't be a part of us if this is what you believe and agree. And it's so fleshly, y'all. It is so fleshly. And, why do you do what you do? Do you stand up and do you call yourself a preacher so that you can sell more books, so that you can charge a higher speaking fee? Or is it really for the gospel of Jesus Christ? Do you really care if anybody gets saved when you stand up there? Or are you just looking for your paycheck? I can get a little upset over this. Can you tell? Just a little bit. So he's like, look, I forewarn you that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. What do you practice? If you practice immorality, if you practice impurity, if you practice sensuality, if you practice idolatry, if you practice sorcery, if you practice enmity, if you practice strife, if you practice jealousy, if you practice outbursts of anger, if you practice disputes, if you practice dissensions, if you practice factions, if you practice envying, and if you practice drunkenness, if you practice carousing, you will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. And the Spirit of God does not live within you, because these are not of the Spirit. They're not of the Spirit. And so then he moves on and he says, okay, now you want to know what is of the Spirit? The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. There is no law against these things. So we'll break those down next, and then we'll finish up our study in Galatians.